All right, let's welcome in our good friend Bob Vanderplaats, brother. Good to see you on the eve of the Helms Deep election here, man. How you doing?
I'm doing really good. How are you doing?
My weekend was going great until my phone blew up with almost every single contact around the country I have, as I'm sure happened to you too. All right. I'm speaking at a conference here in Dallas over the weekend with Fight, Laugh, Feast. Some great people, by the way, enjoyed myself. And almost immediately when I got done with their panel, my phone starts blowing up because your old friend and mine, Ann Seltzer of the Des Moines Register, the woman who missed your gubernatorial primary by
just a little
21
bit.
Points.
Yeah.
Only 21 points, Bob. Only 21 points. All right. She's back with another oldie but goodie. Kamala Harris is up 3 in the state of Iowa, right? And so I want to, before I get your reaction, let me pause there. Before we get into the poll itself, what kind of reaction did your phone get on Saturday night?
Well, it's interesting is my phone got reaction ready Saturday morning, meaning somebody was leaking. I got called about 11:30 in the morning and said, hey, what's going on in Iowa? How do you feel? And so I told them how I feel and, where things were at in Iowa, the way I thought that, Trump should win somewhere between 5 and 8 or 8 and 10 points of the state of Iowa. They're saying, well, we've got bad news on this Seltzer poll, or at least the rumors are bad. And what's interesting, Steve, is that Emerson, which I just thought was hilarious, Emerson released an Iowa poll an hour before the big release of the Des Moines Register Seltzer poll. An hour before the Register Seltzer poll came out, and they showed Trump up by 10-plus points in the state of Iowa. And then lo and behold, an hour later, she's up by 3. And that is when my phone really got very active as well about what's going on. Is this real? Is this fake news? What is this? And so I gave them insight into my primary back in 2010, where she had me getting beat by 29 points the Sunday before the Tuesday, which was a total suppression of my base, basically saying, don't go out to vote for this guy. As you noted, we lost by 8, so only off by 21 points.
Well, Nate Silver, who, again, because he got one election right one time, also now is another sage we are not permitted to question for whatever reason. He likes to call people like me crosstab truthers. And that we should not look at the crosstabs of how these polls are conducted and just trust whatever the pollster comes up with and just go with it. To me,
so whatever the final number is, go ahead. Forget the methodology.
That's all that matters.
You bet.
Yes. Yeah.
Don't show your work.
Don't look at... Correct. If I don't know if he's still alive, but somewhere my old 7th grade algebra teacher at Jackson Park, Michigan Junior High, Mr. Judovics, is losing his poop because he used to scream at us every day, and I remember it 30, 40 years later. Show your work. Put the calculators away. Show your work. All right. So this is for Mr. Judovics, all right? We're going to do what Nate Silver says not to do, because don't look at the crosstabs. It's the new, don't read the mask study for yourself. Just go with the headline we gave you. Don't read the safety testing data for yourself. Just go with the headline of the press release we printed for you. This is this year's version of those kinds of things. Don't read the study and the data for yourself.
Steve, in a movie I watched not too long ago, a movie called Nefarious, said that way you can prove to be a useless idiot.
Yes, indeed. There's a reason why the saying is the devil is in the details. So this is from Ryan Godursky, who's having a bit of a moment, by the way. Good for him after what happened with him in CNN about a week ago. But he went through, so I didn't have to because I didn't have the time this weekend. He went through the crosstabs of Ann Seltzer's Iowa poll for me. And boy, howdy. Let me ask this before we go through these. Ann, if you're watching, how many glasses of wine were you into on Friday night before you weighed a dispute? Okay, because no one did this sober. No one did this sober. And can you make a wine recommendation for the rest of us? Because that, sweetie, has got to be one hell of a witch's brew. If you came up with these crosstabs in comparison to the 2020 election. So, for example, right now we have the most registered Republicans in Iowa that we've had in the state's history. The electorate in 2020 was Republican +8. She is claiming that the overall electorate will be Democrats +3, that 3 points more of Democrats will vote in the state of Iowa than Republicans. No way that's happening. No way, not in any continuity within the space-time continuum of the United Federation of Planets is that occurring. All right. She claims that Democrats who won senior women by 6 in 2020, they're going to win them by 35. 35. She claims that Republicans won senior men by 32, and they're only going to win them by 2. You're right. A whole bunch of senior men do not want to vote for a 78-year-old president. Correct. You bet. You bet. She claims that Democrats, despite the fact they're at their most anemic numbers legislatively in Iowa ever, are going to actually improve by 3 points their standing with independents. They're going to improve by 17 points their standing with women. Republicans are going to lose 5 points with men. Trump is going to lose 8 points with rural Iowa. 8.
No way.
All right? No way. She claims that Democrats are going to improve by 20 points in the suburbs. 20 points in the suburbs. All right, that Republicans are going to actually go down with people that don't have college degrees. Go down with them. And then that Democrats are going to improve by 23 points with those with college degrees. Now, that one I might be willing to buy. The rest of this, though, how do you come up with these numbers based off the data from the last election? Aaron, if you put the camera back on me, I can show the audience. You ready? This is how it gets done right here. All right, get ready. Puff, puff, pass, man. Puff, puff, pass. That's how. All right. So I will no longer trust Ann Selter's polling, but I certainly will take her up on her wine recommendations, Bob Vanderplatz.
Well, I think what it is that, and when I looked at that poll, I thought right away, there's no way this is even close to reality. That's why I tweeted out this is a narrative poll. What she's trying to do is show that Harris has got great momentum. Not because they're not only looking at this for the state of Iowa, they're looking at this for the state of Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania. How is Harris going to do in the Rust Belt? So hopefully this poll goes well beyond Iowa and you start creating this momentum. That's what I believe the Register wanted to do, and I believe Seltzer wanted to do. That said, she's putting her integrity on the line. Without question, putting her integrity on the line, and maybe she doesn't care about that. But if Trump wins by 10 or 8 and she's off double digits in her polling, my goodness, who would listen to her ever again? And so unless she's reading something, Steve, that we are just completely missing, and you just went through those crosstabs, I agree with you. There's no way that even reflects close to reality. But if Trump is going to lose Iowa by 3, here's a news flash. If Trump loses Iowa by 3, he's not going to be president of the United States. Harris will win. That said, I don't think that's going to happen.
For Ann's poll to be remotely close to correct with those crosstabs, meaning if there's, first of all, if that's the electorate, Kamala Harris is not winning Iowa by 3, Bob. She's winning it by like 8 to 10. Okay, number one. Number two, that would indicate an environment like Obama. 2008. Yeah, I mean, not even Obama 2012. That would be Obama 2008, just, routing John McCain up and down the Electoral College map is what that would indicate. They don't even think that. I mean, you got David Axelrod last night on CNN basically saying to Democrats in the inner cities, hey, man, we're not liking the way this is trending. You got 24 hours to figure this out. We're not getting the numbers we need from you guys, right? That's not an Obama 08 an energy level. So, and clearly this thing got, I mean, you told me when I was flying in here, when I was moving hotels yesterday, you called me after church and you're like, the amount of media that this is on all the Sunday shows and everything else. And what was my response to you? Remember, I said, what do you think it says that a poll out of Iowa is what the Kamala Harris team needs to drive a positive narrative in the last 48 hours of the campaign? What do you think that means? They've
got nothing else. They're grasping at straws. And so anything that will show any sign of momentum, and therefore if there's a poll out of Iowa that shows that, look at us and Harris is going to beat Trump by 3, that's going to drive the national news and drive all these TV shows, basically saying, she's got a shot. It may be a close race. I still believe at the end of the day, Trump is going to knock on the door of winning the popular vote, which will be the first Republican who's done that in quite a while. And I believe he's going to knock on the door of 300 Electoral College votes. I think this is going to be a convincing win tomorrow night. And we're going to know, I believe, tomorrow night.
What's the first thing you're going to be looking for from a trend line standpoint tomorrow night?
Well, I think Georgia's going to be one of the first states that we're going to see come out. And if Trump wins that and wins that convincingly, then I think he's going to win Pennsylvania as well. And if he wins those two, I think it's game over. If Kamala were to come out and win Georgia, then I think it's going to be game on. But I think Georgia is going to be one of your first telltale states about how's that's coming into play. But again, what I'm looking at, the enthusiasm, which we thought would probably be on the Democrat side, it looks like it's completely on the Trump side. And you look at those key states, again, he looks like he's going to win the popular vote, and he's going to win probably most of those key states. And if that happens, that's going to be a big victory. And I think our country could use a big victory today.
What is your biggest worry heading into tomorrow night?
I don't know if I really, well, my biggest worry is I take a look at these early vote numbers, and the Republicans are really outpacing themselves what they've ever done before. And my concern is, are those low propensity voters going out and putting their mail in right now? Or is that the same day voter who always said, I'm only going to vote on the same day, but now I was told to vote early, so now I'm going to vote early. So basically you cannibalize.
The answer is probably yes.
Right.
The answer is probably yes. We just don't know how far one yes goes to the other.
Exactly. And also, if you cannibalize the same day vote, that does concern me. And the only thing I would say about the Ann Seltzer poll is that, as with you, I discredit it. If she sees something that I am actually not seeing, that would concern me as well. I just don't see that happening today.
If that poll was correct, wouldn't they scramble to do an event here as Kamala Harris or Tim Walz coming to Iowa today?
Yeah, not only would Kamala and Tim Walz come to Iowa, but you would think Donald Trump and J.D. Vance would be coming to Iowa
Correct.
as well. And
one of them at least would be. Yeah.
None of them are coming here. You see a few TV ads on some national football programs, but that's about it. This has not been a state in play. I don't believe this is going to be a state in play.
Well, I opened up the show looking at this election and how we got here as best I can from a biblical worldview standpoint. So I've got about 2 minutes here. I want to give you the same opportunity.
Well, I think what it is, you see a lot of anxiety, or at least I see a lot of anxiety when I travel the country right now about who's going to win, who's going to lose, what does it say about the future of our country? Because both sides believe, the Democrats believe if Trump wins, this country's over. And the Republicans believe if Kamala wins, this country's over. And what I'm saying is that, the whole idea about looking higher, and that is, and Steve, you've used it before, revival or bust. This is an opportunity for us as believers to really apply 2 Chronicles 7:14 to our own lives. If my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and pray. I know there's a lot of people praying right now for this election because it's urgent right now. But what happens if we pray consistently without ceasing and apply it to our own life? That we would turn from our wicked ways, that we would humble ourselves, that we'd actually seek God's face and be in His Word. That directed by God, that's for His church. That's not for whoever our opponent is. And I believe this country needs spiritual revival like never before. I've told you before in 1979 when Ronald Reagan said that this country hungers and thirsts for a spiritual revival. That was 1979. 2024, we don't even know what restroom to use. We're willing to mutilate our kids. This country needs a spiritual revival regardless of who we elect. And remember, our hope is not in who we elect. We serve the King of Kings, and we just pray that God will use that person that we put into office to turn a country's heart back to God, His principle, and His precepts. And I think that's where we need to be. So regardless of what happens tomorrow night, for those people of faith, for us as believers, we continue on, we persevere.